Fox Sports.
We are the Fourth. We are Florida.
In Atlanta, long road trip comes to a close. 3-game series. The Marlins and the Braves. This would be game 3. Atlanta winners on Friday. The Fish came roaring back to get a shutout win last night. And tonight, yes, it's tonight, 5 o'clock start here in Atlanta. It's Fish and Braves. Ivor won Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hutton. It was a rough road trip to start with, certainly. Losing 2 of 3 in Colorado, losing 2 of 3 to the Los Angeles Angels. But Miami has a chance to finish on an upbeat note and head home. They win this ball game, they win this series against Atlanta.
Yeah, obviously your hopes are set when you leave on a long road trip like this to try to finish above 500. It's not going to happen, but you would like to have it finish on a high note.
After Friday night, we scratched our heads and said, who's going to help Giancarlo Stanton out? And we looked down at the bottom of the lineup. We were looking in the wrong spot because the Marlins got a big night last night from Donovan Solano, who was hitting second.
You know, that's the way things go for you and I, Rich. We're looking in that wrong spot. But Donovan Solano, by the way, is in that second spot again in this one today. Big home run on a hanging breaking ball from Aaron Harang. He had 3 hits in the game, the home run, a couple of more RBIs, really had some good at-bats. One of the things we forget about Donovan Solano, this year he's hitting .317 with runners in scoring position, and he's able to play many different positions. He's really done, as he did last year, a nice job.
In both games of this series, the Marlins have had 2 real nice starts. Tom Kohler on Friday night, and Jared Cozart was spectacular last night. Nathan Eovaldi tonight, how does he straighten things out?
You know, I think you look at what Tom Kohler did, you look at what Jared Cozart did, you try to get a little competition amongst the starters because Nathan Eovaldi needs to do that. I'll tell you another thing he's going to draw from. He's going to draw from the fact that he's pitched well against the Braves. He has to have better location than he had in his ball game against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. 10 hits and 6 runs in his 3 1/3. Last 10 starts for Nathan, an ERA about 5.5. He needs to improve on that.
Pretty soon they'll be the Atlanta Braves of Cobb County, but pitching for them is Alex Wood in this one.
Yeah, Alex Wood, I think we all remember that terrific game. He pitched here against Jose Fernandez earlier in the year. Wood lost 1-0. Jose had 13 strikeouts in that game. Got a funky delivery. He's worked as a starter. He's also pitched out of the bullpen for Freddie Gonzalez.
Jeff Baker in the lineup. Lefty on the mound. It's a Jeff Baker alerts. And Bakes is hot. We'll talk about the Clemson Tiger when we return. warmed up, getting ready to go. It is warm down on the field. Raul Stryker Jr., Preston Wilson. Guys.
Thanks, Rich. And talking to Mike Redmond, the manager, before the game, he's very happy. He's satisfied with the way that the young guys have responded at this later stage of the season. And one of the things we were talking about before as well, Preston, is they have an advantage this year where they have some veteran guys like your Reed Johnsons, like Jeff Baker, who have helped these young guys get through this transition.
Well, Jeff Baker in particular is one of those guys who's been through the battles. He's a veteran guy. And when you got a lefty on the mound, this is the guy that you want. And just look at the impact he's had on this team. When he plays 41 and 38, when he starts at first base 19 and 14, 22 starts. So when he starts, he has a winning record. When he gets a hit, they have a winning record. The only one that isn't over the top is when he gets an RBI. But this is a guy that you know when there's a lefty on the mound, you can put him in. And it's hot as an oven today, so I'm glad we got a Baker.
And as we saw in the pregame show, he's also one of those guys that's in the Fantasy Football League. He's one of the guys that not only produces on the field, but also keeps everybody loose in the clubhouse.
He's one of those guys that the Marlins did such a great job of bringing in character guys, and Jeff Baker is definitely one of them. He was a rookie in Colorado when I was there. He was a good kid then, and he's a great man now.
Well, we got to go. We're coming back with Rich and Tommy Hutton with the call. Marlins Braves series finale.
To you by Toyota. Let's go places by AT U-verse TV. Find out what's possible with AT&T. 1-800-PICK-AT&T, mobilizing your world. By Checkers. Checkers brings big flavor for a small price. Feed your craving for quality for only $1. Cha-ching. And by your South Florida Honda dealers and sfhondadealers.com. Alex Wood, the Georgia Bulldog, on the mound and ready to go. Nice crowd here on this holiday weekend, a Sunday night in Atlanta. JM Lexus brings you Miami's lineup. Christian Yelich has had good numbers against Wood. Donovan Solano, Giancarlo Stanton, Casey McGee at third, Jeff Baker the start in the 5 spot, Marcell Ozuna, Danny Echeverria, Jeff Mathis, and Nathan Eovaldi hits ninth.
Yeah, you talk about the Georgia Bulldog, 23-year-old, didn't spend a whole lot of time in the minor leagues, and he's been used a couple of different ways this year. 30 games, 19 starts, the other 11 out of the bullpen.
Christian Yelich in the box. Pinch a penny brings you first pitch. And Wood, with that tilted delivery, gets a strike. Yelich, Solano, Stanton in the first in Atlanta. And these first few innings will be interesting to watch. As you can see, the mound in sunshine, the plate in shadows, which makes a nasty breaking ball from Wood for a lefty tough to pick up.
Yeah, he's tough on lefties anyway, and with the shadows a little tougher. Right field also is going to be a tough spot to play today as well.
Yelich takes in. The Marlins winning last night 4-0. Jared Cozart 7 shutout innings, and the Fish knocked Aaron Harang around. Now Wood has been terrific against the Marlins and vulnerable against the Marlins all in this 2014 season. Yelich goes the other way, lines it to left, Justin Upton there, and he makes the catch. Well hit though by Yelich. Braves defensively line up this way behind Alex Wood.
Well, you make sure you have the sunglasses, especially in the outfield. Justin Upton, B.J. Upton, and Jason Hayward. Philip Goslin is at third base today. Simmons, LaStella up the middle. Freddie Freeman's always at first. And Evan Gattis has caught all 3 games.
Donovan Solano now, 3-hit night last night, and they were 3 big ones. Solano homered in the first inning. Had an RBI single in the 5th inning. Also singled in the 3rd inning. The Marlins jumped on Harang early. That the voice of Hal Gibson, the home plate umpire. Chris Guccione at first, Eric Cooper at second, Tom Hallion is at third. Outfield towards right center. Right field and right center are really tough in the sun right now. Solano fouls back a fastball. It's 1-2.
Yeah, these are shadows that if this were a 1-130 start, we'd be talking about later in the ball game.
Heck, we'd be talking about extra innings. Here's a 1-2. And he went around. Solano couldn't check. Wood has a strikeout. He's punched out 131 this year in just 138 innings.
Well, he has that kind of dip down. We just call it flat out funky delivery. Hard to pick up. We'll give you a little bit of the scouting report. There's the herky-jerky in the delivery. Curveball's kind of a knuckle spike curve, and the changeup he uses more to right-handed hitters.
Stan takes a low strike, and it's 0-1. Giancarlo last night, couple hits and a trio of strikeouts. And for this road trip, little tapper. Wood has it, flipped to first in time, and Miami's down in order. Nathan Eovaldi gets the ball next in Atlanta. Nathan Eovaldi has pitched well here in Atlanta in his brief career, and he goes at the Braves tonight. And here's the lineup that Freddie Gonzalez puts out there tonight. Jam Lexus brings it to you. Jason Hayward in the leadoff spot. He's had a nice series and a nice year against the Fish. Phil Gosselin gets a start at third base. Freddie Freeman at first. Justin Upton in the cleanup spot. Evan Gattis slotted fifth. Tommy La Stella at second. Andrelton Simmons at shortstop. B.J. Upton in center. Alex Wood in the ninth spot. Hayward backs out of the way of a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Eovaldi was ambushed early in his start against the Angels.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit, Rich. Command was the issue, and that usually has been the problem because the velocity always seems to be there for Nathan Eovaldi. And this has been a tough out. Jason Hayward's had quite a year against the Marlins. 400 average, 24 hits against the Marlins this year.
He's been outstanding in that leadoff spot. His on base is at 356. The Braves seem to win a lot more when he's at the top of their lineup. Even though when he got to the big leagues, he's certainly profiled as a middle of the lineup guy. Eovaldi got him. And a good sign for Eovaldi. A breaking pitch for a strike.
Well, one thing we know, Nate Eovaldi doesn't walk many hitters, just 34 walks. And when he finds that back door with a breaking ball that way, after getting ahead with fastballs, he'll have a good outing. Excellent pitch.
Now Gosselin. Gosselin, young infielder, second baseman by trade, getting the start at third. Had a solid year in the minor leagues. Shoots a ball into right field for a hit. And he's aboard. Freddie Freeman comes up.
See how the defense checks in, brought to you by Ram. There's Yelich and Ozuna and Stanton. McGee, Echeverria, Donovan Solano's been hot. Jeff Baker with the start. He has hit 300 against lefties this year. And Jeff Mathis behind the plate.
Now Freeman, who is 1 for 7 in this series. And if you followed Marlins and Braves and all this year, know that for whatever reason, Freddie Freeman has not hit the fish this season. He hit him fairly well coming into the year. But on the year now, he's just 4 for 58 with 20 strikeouts.
Yeah, the irony to that is prior to this year, Freddie Freeman was a .299 lifetime hitter against the Marlins. But that lifetime average has gone down to .242 against the Marlins.
Gosselin's at first. Freeman, a high fly ball, center field and deep. Ozuna to the track, makes the catch. From watching Ozuna for a brief moment, you thought it had a chance to get out because it wasn't the typical Ozuna glide back and catch it. It was turn and run like heck.
Yeah, he turned and he was able to run to the spot. It turns right there. There's the spot where he's saying, okay, this ball's going to come down right here. Well played by Marcell Ozuna.
Just a gentle breeze from left to right. And you would expect the ball to carry quite well tonight. It's hot here in Atlanta. Upton having a terrific year and a dynamite second half. And Eovaldi misses away. Individually, up and down the Braves lineup, we talked about Eovaldi having success against the Braves. Justin Upton has not swung it well. He's 3 for 17. Jason Hayward, probably the best Brave against Eovaldi. 11 for 25 coming in.
And so far, the slider that struck out Hayward, that slider right there, very good ones from Eovaldi.
.28 RBIs in the month of August for Justin Upton. Certainly a guy that will be front and center in the National League Player of the Month voting. He has slugged .576 in the month. There's 95 from the sunshine into the shadows.
I think he's gotten his name too, especially with what he's done this month. He's gotten his name a little bit in the MVP conversation with the way the Braves are playing.
Well, and a lot of his hits are big hits. 6 game-winning RBIs this month. Goslin's still at first. Eovaldi's tough to run on. And he strikes him out. Fastball, 96 miles an hour. Eovaldi looks sharp. Alex Wood looks sharp. And this ball game is underway in Atlanta. In Atlanta, and it's brought to you by H Gray. Hope you're having a great holiday weekend out there. If you're out on the water, around the water, barbecuing, just hanging out in the AC. Rich Waltz, Tommy Hutton, Raul Stryker Jr., Preston Wilson here in Atlanta, where Miami trying to hang in the wild card race. The Fish picked up a half game last night with a win and a split by St. Louis. The Marlins trying to win this series and get home to face the Mets. A 1 o'clock game tomorrow at Marlins Park. There's your wild card, and that reflects a loss by Pittsburgh today. The Pirates have already played. A lot of games are just finishing. Pittsburgh lost 3-2 to Cincinnati. The Mets beat the Phillies 6-5. Here's McGee now, and he takes outside against Wood.
So the Mets may beat us to South Florida tonight.
Oh, they'll get there first. Marlins will be arriving tonight. 3-gamer with night games on Tuesday and Wednesday. No swing for McGee.
By the way, a terrific matchup tomorrow afternoon. Henderson Alvarez and Zach Wheeler.
McGee 1 for 6 against Alex Wood, and a fly ball right field. Over for it, and sliding is Hayward, and did he hold it? Yes, he got it. Jason Hayward up against the wall in foul territory. Holds the ball and gets the first out of the second inning.
Boy, this is a tremendous catch. Also battling the sunshine. Hayward, you and I were talking before the game, Rich, has become a very good right fielder defensive-wise, but he knows that territory, knew where the fence was. He went down into that slide and put it away. Great concentration, and his pitcher loved it.
Hayward won a Gold Glove in 2012, and I think he's going to win one in 2013. He's having a dynamite defensive year.
Yeah, see the percentage numbers, also 9 assists for Hayward.
And all the range factor, all the metrics, he's at the top of those lists as well. Here's Baker now. Jeff Baker getting the start. Looking cool with the shades. Baker last night delivered a pinch hit. For Jeff Baker, he's been able to get at bats as a starter and obviously as a pinch hitter. And he's actually on a really nice run right now. .357 in his last 30 games.
Yeah, it's almost been like a tale of 2 seasons for Jeff Baker. At the end of June, he was hitting 198, and he has really come alive.
Gaddis was set up out. Wood hit the glove. It's 3-2. Marcell Ozuna waits on deck. Wood went 1-2-3 in the first. He's retired all 4 that he's faced. Baker on a hop off the glove of La Stella, and Baker is aboard. Whether it's a hit or an error, we're not quite sure.
Ball had some funny spin because it sounded like it cracked the bat of Jeff Baker. There's the shadows. Here comes the ball into the sunshine. Tough hop, could go either way, and it will be a base hit for Jeff Baker. So that average against left-handed pitching continues. It was .303 coming into the game.
Here now is Ozuna. Ozuna a 1 for 6 against Alex Wood, and 3 for 9 in this series. Of course, Wood was involved in a very historic night. As I said, it's the greatest night of pitching I've ever seen by both starters. Matched up against Jose Fernandez on the 22nd of April. Wood was dynamite. 11 strikeouts, no walks, 8 innings, a run, 4 hits. Fernandez was unbelievable. 14 strikeouts, no walks, no runs, 3 hits, 8 innings. Including the relievers that came after, 28 strikeouts and no walks. It's the first time in Major League history that had ever been accomplished.
And if you're wondering how the Marlins got that 1 run, it was a Giancarlo Stanton double. Casey McGee drove him in with a single.
Ozuna swings and misses. If that game were to occur in a postseason game, you'd be talking along the lines of John Smoltz and Jack Morris in Game 7 of the World Series.
Amazing thing about that, the next time Wood pitched against the Marlins, it was in Miami. He gave up 10 hits and 7 runs in 5 innings.
Ozuna goes down. Marlins and Mets on a Chevron Crazy 8 Wednesday. Visit a participating Chevron. Pick up the Chevron with Techron gasoline and your receipt. Bring it to the ticket office. Get 60% off lower level tickets. Restrictions apply. Next Crazy 8 Wednesday, September 3rd. That's the Mets. That's this Wednesday. Echeverria swings and misses. And it's 0-1. Edge homering on this road trip. Doubled last night, 1 for 4. His only hit of the series.
Now the Marlins have done a pretty good job against left-handed pitching. They're 19-11. The other thing Mike Redmond would like to see, he'd like to see them stay above 500 here in the month of August. Last game in August, the Marlins come into play 13-13 for the month. See how Wood likes to backdoor that breaking ball.
Three teams from the East in that top 5. And a terrific cut on that. Wood. That one ended up right around the shoe top of Echeverria. If you got a fan photo, tweet it. Hashtag it FL Fan Photo, and it could become the AT fan photo of the game. Second inning for Nathan Eovaldi. Evan Gattis, Tommy La Stella, Andrelton Simmons for the Braves, who sit at 71 and 65. Drive, left center, deep, and gone. As majestic a home run as you'll see in a 1-0 Atlanta lead.
Well, Evan Gattis did not waste a second on a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. First pitch he saw from Eovaldi. Up a little bit, and look at that, right in the sweet spot for Gattis, his 21st of the year.
For Eovaldi, the 12th home run he's given up, not a high number. And a breaking ball for a strike. In fact, the funny thing is that Eovaldi's not had a good second half. He's 1-5, an ERA of over 6. But he's not been giving up a lot of home runs. La Stella serves it out into shallow center. Ozuna's there, and he makes the catch.
Rich, personally, my opinion, Nathan Eovaldi needs a third pitch. He uses curveball and slider, so let's say fourth pitch, especially against lefties. He needs a changeup. I know it's a pitch he's worked on. He just doesn't use it a lot in games. Pitch that would fade away a little bit to a lefty, take him off the fastball a little bit.
Andrelton Simmons now.
And to be honest, when your lifetime record is 15-30, you've got to think of some other things and make some adjustments.
Eovaldi's pitched well in this ballpark. 7 starts, an ERA at 3. Simmons didn't get all of that, and it's going to fall over Baker's head. Picked up by Solano, and a single for Simmons. So the Braves have a run and a base runner. And this copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Marlins. May not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Marlins.
In the defense of Nathan Eovaldi, even going back to last year, he has had many games where he hasn't gotten a whole lot of run support either.
He is the 5th lowest among National League starters. B.J. Upton takes a strike.
You and I talked to a lot of scouts, and I think one of the things that stands out, you see more hits than innings pitched. And for a guy who throws 97, 98 miles an hour, that shouldn't generally be the case.
And thus the ability to subtract a little bit, whether it's with a changeup or changing speeds off the breaking ball. Stanton fighting the sun makes the catch on the Upton fly ball, B.J. Upton. And with 2 outs, Alex Wood comes up. You would hope at 24, Eovaldi young enough in his major league career.
Absolutely.
I mean, guys develop pitches after they're 30. Eovaldi at 24 should be able to develop and refine those pitches. You know, the other side of that coin is this. Say he doesn't, and he stays essentially a 2-pitch pitcher. A lot of scouts have also said this guy could profile as a really good closer. For now, he's a starting pitcher with a lot of promise and a great arm.
You and I have had a chance to talk to John Smoltz, who's here doing the television with Chip Carey and Joe Simpson on the Braves TV network. And we're talking today, and he said until he came up with that splitter, he had trouble at times putting guys away. And he had a great slider along with the fastball. But when he came up with the split finger, and by the way, he's enjoyed watching Kohler, Cozart, and today Eovaldi.
Yeah, he had nothing but praise, especially about Cozart's start. Liked Kohler on Friday, but Cozart last night was a special night, as he has really paid big dividends for the Marlins since that trade from the Astros. Cozart now 3-1 with an ERA that's under 2 as a Marlin. Count 2-2.
Yeah, Cozart attacked and attacked last night. No runs, just 1 walk in his 7 innings.
Got help from A.J. Ramos, Mike Dunn, and Steve Cishek, who finished the night. 2-2. There's a breaking ball, and down goes Wood. Out goes Evan Gattis, his 21st of the season. Out into the sun. Cold Hard Facts, brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Marlins and Braves in Game 3s. 1-1 when winning the first 2 games. 10-7 when losing the first 2 games. And when the 2 have split, the Fish are 4-10.
Yeah, we've talked about, too, how even this season series has been. The Marlins have played 15 games against the Braves this year and are 1 up, 8-7. And next weekend in Miami, it'll be the final 3 against the Braves.
Jeff Mathis going after the first pitch from Alex Wood. A 2-hopper for Tommy La Stella. And Wood, who's worked quickly, been around the plate, punched out 3, gets to Nathan Eovaldi with nobody aboard and 1 out in the top of the 3rd.
Last time out for Alex Wood, he lost 3-2 in New York. The big blast against him was a 2-run homer by Juan Lagares.
Now Eovaldi, 3 for 48. And he fouls a pitch off. The Marlins open play in the wild card, 5.5 back. San Francisco, the top wild card spot by a game over St. Louis, the second wild card spot. The Cardinals just rallied for 3 runs late to beat the Cubs 9-6 in St. Louis. Remember, tomorrow is a 1:10 start. All you can eat seats, just $22. All first responders with ID get complimentary tickets on South Florida Heroes Monday. Presented by GovX.
Well, I tell you who's gotten hot, Rich, for the Cardinals. Did some damage today too. Matt Holliday was 2 for 3 with a couple of home runs, 5 RBIs last night. 3 for 4 with a home run and 4 RBIs today.
St. Louis now at 73-63. The Giants are beating the Milwaukee Brewers 6-1 in the bottom of the 5th. And all of a sudden, the Brewers are sputtering. They've lost 4 in a row. If they lose that game, it's St. Louis and Milwaukee tied for first atop the Central, and Pittsburgh lost today, and the Pirates would still be 2 back.
Wait, think about it. Everybody else has had their sputters. The Brewers really haven't had one all year. By the way, Alex Wood, this is what's amazing about the line drive out that Yelich hit first time up. He's always been tough on left-handers. With that line drive out, Christian Yelich is still 6 for 13 against Wood.
Wood did not spend a lot of time in the minor leagues. Out of Georgia, 2nd-round pick, 2012. Got to the big leagues last year. Opened the season in the rotation. Didn't have a great start. He was just 2-5. And so they put him in the bullpen. And once he got to the bullpen, he was a short man. Then Gavin Floyd got hurt, and the Braves quickly sent him down to AAA to stretch him out back to be a starter, and he's rejoined the rotation and pitched well since. Down goes Yelich. Second 10-pitch inning for Alex Wood, who is sharp in this one. And Atlanta leads Miami 1-0. Palmetto. That's how the Kennedys might pronounce it. Palmetto 57 Nissan.
I think we do go to Boston next year, though.
I can't wait. Leaderboard. Youngest teams this season. Marlins and Braves in there, along with the Cubs and Arizona. And here's Hayward for the second time. Called out on strikes in the first. Evan Gattis, about a 420-foot homer to left center field.
That pitch is a good pitch you like to see every so often from Eovaldi.
And a strike. Two teams headed in opposite directions. Marlins seeing one of them on this road trip. Oakland and the Angels back at it. Tapper, Echeverria on 2 hops. On to first in time. Fox Sports Supports is proud to collaborate with Stand Up to Cancer. Groundbreaking initiative created to accelerate innovative cancer research that gets new therapies to patients quickly in order to save lives now. For more information, visit foxsportsupports.com. The Angels have opened up a can of you-know-what in their series against Oakland.
They're about to make it a 4-game sweep.
It would be the 6th straight win for Los Angeles and the 4th straight loss for Oakland, and it would give the Angels a 5-game lead in the West. 6-0 Angels over Oakland, top 7. The A's, who have been spiraling ever since acquiring John Lester and sending Yoenis Cespedes to the Red Sox, actually acquired Adam Dunn from the White Sox to try to pump some life into their offense.
Well, they were shut out. The A's were shut out last night. 2-0. Mike Scioscia used 8 pitchers. That was that Garrett Richards spot in their rotation. Remember, you mentioned last night Corey Rasmus, who had not thrown many pitches and started the game, went 3 innings, and then he followed with 7 more pitchers for the combined shutout.
Solano, a nifty stop, and he spins to get the out, and rob Phil Gosselin, the former Virginia Cavalier, of a base hit.
Boy, this is just a nice play. We saw Gosselin himself have a little trouble with a ball hit by Jeff Baker. This ball hit hard, and a pick, a little pop up, and Donovan Solano had plenty of time.
Now Freeman, who was flied to center. 1 for 8 in this series. The Tigers took it on the chin. White Sox beat them 6-2, and that's of interest to Kansas City, who plays tonight against Cleveland. Those two teams woke up in a dead heat in the Central.
Well, the Tigers have had their problems too lately.
And you know what? The Indians have a real nice opportunity. If Cleveland wins that game tonight, they're 2.5 back behind both those teams. Terry Francona's ball club very quietly is creeping up in the wild card and in the Central.
You know, Terry Francona's keeping them loose in Cleveland.
2-2. Freeman hooks it foul. AT U-verse rewind. This is proof that Freddie Freeman has homered against the Marlins this year. This was against Nathan Eovaldi, an opposite field shot. He sends one into center for a base hit. 2 out hit by Freeman. Here comes Justin Upton.
I guess the amazing thing about Freeman and his struggles against the Marlins, even with his struggles in this series, his second hit of the series, Still hitting .333 his last 26 games. Couple of pitchers today that had Tommy John surgery early. Of course, Nathan Eovaldi, we've talked about it, had it his junior year in high school. And for Alex Wood, he had it when he was pitching at Georgia.
Up to the strikeout back in the first. Marlins home for the Mets and the Braves. Braves come in after the Mets. The Phillies are here for an afternoon game tomorrow, a night game on Tuesday, and an afternoon game on Wednesday. So you might see the same pitching matchups here. That one out into left center field. Freeman around second, on his way to third, and he'll get there. Upton muscles one into the gap.
Yeah, and muscle he did, because that ball got in on him. He didn't hit it hard, but he's a strong guy. And got it enough into shallow left center. You can see how far Yelich had to come to get it. And that's why Freeman was able to go first to third.
Gaddis, a guy that crowds the plate, doesn't have the batting gloves. He just kind of leans out there like the big guy that he is. And when Eovaldi came in with a fastball, Gaddis absolutely crushed it.
We mentioned too, he started all 3 games of this series behind the plate. You saw the reaction of Eovaldi as soon as that ball was hit. Number one, he knew he made a mistake pitch. Number two, he knew that Gaddis got it.
The other good reaction there was Gaddis. Ball left bat, Gaddis left box, and he's put his head down like, yep, I got it.
He didn't Yasiel Puig it.
Oh, you never know.
Of course, Puig hasn't done that lately.
In his mind, he might have been dancing around and pulling a fill the bucket. You never know. One of the things in watching Gaddis' swing, hands are together, but watch his hands when they come through. Watch them slide apart by an inch.
Just separate just a little bit. And you also saw on that swing, no vibration of the bat, because he got it all.
One, two. Reached out, pokes it, center field, Ozuna. In the sunshine, makes the catch. Eovaldi leaves a pair. Atlanta leads at 1-0. Let's check in with Raul Stryker Jr.
Thanks, Rich. Nice pace of the game so far. On Tuesday, Mike Redmond announced yesterday that on Tuesday, Brad Penny will be taking the 5th starter spot that's been on a rotational basis. So looking ahead at the series starting tomorrow against the Mets, Henderson Alvarez takes the hill against Zach Wheeler. Jonathan Neese against Brad Penny, this will be his 3rd start. He's pitched at least 5 innings. The 2 prior starts he's had, and of course Tom Kohler on Wednesday against Jacob deGrom. Thanks, guys. Back to you.
All right, it's the Mets and the Marlins, and already there were a couple of folks in the press box, scouts, even the Braves broadcasters, that said 2 teams that are really going to be good next year are the Mets and the Marlins. And the Mets have such a good young pitching staff, so do the Marlins. Both have aces coming back next year. Of course, the Marlins won't be back till midseason, and Jose Fernandez. Harvey will be back, it would seem, on opening day, you would expect, for the Mets in 2015.
They got Harvey and Zach Wheeler. Jacob deGrom, who's really pitched well for them this year. Jonathan Neese, Dylan G.
Here's Solano.
They have a guy in the minor leagues, Noah Syndergaard. They really love, too.
Just off the glove of Andrelton Simmons. And Solano is aboard. That sets up the at-bat for Giancarlo Stanton with Casey McGee and Jeff Baker also scheduled here in the 4th.
So come to think of it, the Mets are in a position, if they feel a guy like Syndergaard is ready, then maybe a Dylan G or John Neese, one of their more veteran guys, they could use as trade bait. We'll have to find out when we get to Miami from our Mets insider on that.
I think you have to find out what's on the Mets shopping list. What's Sandy Alderson and Terry Collins? I think offense, certainly.
Offense. They need help at 3rd. Another outfield bat, maybe.
Stanton rolls one up the middle. Simmons shovels. La Stella turns. And Alex Wood gets a double play.
Stanton just got on top of it. He got a pretty good pitch to hit, rolled over, and once got into the hands of Simmons, 6-4-3.
Marlins will have a shopping list as well. I mean, every team does in the offseason, but I think the Marlins could stand to add a bat or 2 and add some offense. The step forward that the ball club has taken this year is pretty incredible for a team that lost 100 games last year. They've got a month to go, and they've already won 66 games. Last year they won just 62. McGee takes a strike. Casey fly to right in the 2nd. Simmons, an easy one for him. It's a 9-pitch hitting. Alex Wood, and the Braves a 1-0 lead. On Fox Sports Florida, brought to you by Palmetto 57 Nissan. Palmetto 57 Volkswagen, home of your money-back guarantee. By the Florida Department of Transportation, reminding you, drive sober or get pulled over. And by Hyundai, get the lowest prices of the year during Hyundai's model year-end clearance sale. Back to work goes Nathan Eovaldi. He hasn't had a whole lot of time to catch his breath, because his counterpart, Alex Wood, has thrown just 46 pitches in his 4 innings of work. Over the mound, Solano races in, gets it, and gets his man. Tommy La Stella out number 1. They'll bring up Andrelton Simmons. B.J. Upton also scheduled to appear here in the 4th. South Florida Honda dealers bring you Marlins live tomorrow. Craig Minervini, Jeff Conine. What is Labor Day? We'll ask the Marlins in their clubhouse. I think one Marlin got it right, of the many that we were able to ask. Survey says. And then that Zach Wheeler-Henderson Alvarez matchup is a real good one tomorrow afternoon.
When you get to the ballpark, you see a terrific matchup, and certainly that'll get you home in time for that nice Labor Day cookout.
Why don't we just cook out tomorrow at the game in the booth?
It might set the smoke alarms off.
Andrelton Simmons singled in the 2nd. We would have to use a George Foreman grill, and that's just not the same. Speaking of boxers, we always see Evander Holyfield here. His son the other night had a huge night. He's a running back. 7 touchdowns.
College or high school?
High school.
High school locally here in the Atlanta area?
Yes.
Wow. Bet he was at that game.
I would hope so. Andrelton Simmons goes down. Good location. Checkers bringing you Fox Tracks. And Eovaldi, who had a couple base runners in the 3rd, gave up the home run to Gaddis in the 2nd. Gets B.J. Upton. A little surprised, as you look at the Braves box score, that Emilio Bonifacio wasn't in the lineup against Eovaldi. Upton fouls it back.
Well, Bonifacio played the first game of this series, was hitless. He'd got 3 hits the night before against the Mets.
But the Braves have a lot invested in B.J. Upton. Remember last year the Braves won their first division title since 2005, left Dan Uggla off the postseason roster. There were many that felt they should have left B.J. Upton off the postseason roster.
You know, it was a tough enough decision for Freddie Gonzalez to make that announcement to Dan Uggla, and to have 2 of those guys off their postseason roster.
2-2. Freddie Gonzalez now 50 in his 4th year. In his last 3 years, no manager in the National League has won more games. Upton's got a hit. B.J. into left field. 2-out single. And Alex Wood, Braves pitcher, comes up. Every strikeout, every game ender, every history-making moment on MLB Whip Around. Weeknights, 10 Eastern on Fox Sports 1. Streaming live on Fox Sports Go.
There were some well-pitched games last night. Jake Peavy has a good ERA since being acquired by the Giants. Hadn't had a whole lot of run support. Gave up a single to Mark Reynolds in the 8th inning. It broke up a no-hitter. He went 7 2/3. Gave up 1 hit, no runs. You were talking about Milwaukee earlier. They were beaten by the Giants 3-1.
And they're losing 7-1 right now. Nathan Eovaldi strikes out Alex Wood. Into the 5th, 1-0 Atlanta. Scored. Braves didn't score last night, and a lot of it had to do with the pitching of Jared Kozar. He had Tom Hallion all wound up. And he ended up with the 5 strikeouts, 7 scoreless innings. And he's been terrific as a Marlin. Our Geico quote, the Gecko arrives. Mike Redmond. He wants it. He wants to help us make it to the playoffs. Those are the kind of guys a manager wants on his team. On Jared Kozart's demeanor. And we watched Kozart, and we've watched him now for his last couple starts. He was upset last night, number one, getting lifted from the ball game. But I think as well, just as much, upset that he gave up 2 hits to open up the 8th inning.
Yeah, and if you go back, Rich, his last 4 starts, he's 3-0 with an ERA under 1. And you're right, he wants it. We've seen that. He displays that when he's on the mound.
This was last night. Visibly upset after being pulled out in a 4-0 game. He was chewing on his hat for a while.
Just saw a couple of guys like that last night. A.J. Ramos.
Jeff Baker, a base hit back in the 2nd. And Woods behind the count 2-0. Just 46 pitches through the first 4 innings. He's missed on the first 2 here in the 5th. Marcell Ozuna, Danny Echeverria after Baker. Baker takes a strike.
When you watch Alex Wood and you see hitters take pitches, you know he's just hard to pick up with the delivery he has. And there's a good changeup. Talked about it. He'll throw that mostly to right-handed hitters.
Charlotte, North Carolina, home for Alex Wood. Got him. Baker goes down. And so Ozuna, who struck out, comes up.
Boy, threw another changeup. and boy, just caught the inside corner.
Ozuna cracks one foul. The Nationals were on top in Seattle. They've had a nice stay up there. But Dustin Ackley just hit a 3-run homer, and Washington's behind 4-3 up at Safeco Field. Nationals continue that West Coast swing against the Dodgers. Tomorrow, 12:30 start, Marlins Live. Ozuna, down he goes. 4 of the 7 strikeouts for Wood are looking. It's a 3-gamer that starts tomorrow at 1 and on Tuesday night at 7:10. You get half-price tickets on the Lexus Legends level, baseline reserve, bullpen reserve, home run porch, all of that with Miami Herald half-price Tuesday. For details, pick up the Tuesday edition, the Miami Herald or El Nuevo Herald. Monday edition won't do you any good, Tom. Tuesday edition.
Be the start of a new week after Labor Day Monday.
Echeverria takes in.
I know you and I, growing up in California, always went back to school after Labor Day. School in South Florida always starts a little sooner than that.
Yeah, a lot of kids on the West Coast are getting all their fun in here this weekend and tomorrow before it's back to school. Remember that night we were talking about where Jose punched out 14, Alex Wood struck out 11? Wood looks exactly like he did that night. Gave up 4 hits and a run, didn't walk anybody.
No, that's right, and neither did Jose. There has not been a walk today. Nathan Eovaldi hasn't walked anybody. He's got a good changeup today too. It just complements the fastball and then the breaking ball he throws.
A lot of Atlanta was a buzz this morning with the win by Georgia last night against Clemson, and certainly Wood enjoyed it, and he strikes out the side. 8 punch outs already for this Georgia Bulldog. 6 hits for Atlanta. No runs, just 2 hits for Miami. Nathan Eovaldi has struck out 5. Alex Wood has struck out 8 in this one. Checkers brings you tomorrow's matchup, which is a really good one. Zach Wheeler, for some reason, pitches really well at Marlins Park, and Henderson Alvarez does likewise. So that's the matchup tomorrow. 12:30 for Marlins Live, 1 o'clock ball game. Halfway through in Atlanta, Jason Hayward leads it off. A strikeout and a ground out. The only run on an Evan Gattis home run that led off the second. Braves certainly interested in the scores that we've been talking about. The Giants 7-2 over Milwaukee in the 7th. The late rally by the Cardinals to beat the Cubs. The Braves pulled even with the Pirates because Pittsburgh lost today. And so both those teams sit a game back, or were a game back, of St. Louis.
Freddie would probably tell you it's too early to do all that. Just have to try to win each game, not worry about what the other teams are doing.
Well, Atlanta 7 back of Washington. As we told you, Washington a run down in Seattle in the bottom of the 7th. So if the Braves have sights on Eovaldi, a laser right back in the glove.
Well, I'll tell you what, Nathan Eovaldi's had a couple of those this year, and each time he's had it, he's picked it clean. There it is, line drive, ho-hum, 1 out.
It's a very, very good athlete, great feet. And you saw the hands. And here's Goslin, who singled in the 1st and was robbed of a hit in the 3rd. Goslin's numbers this year at Gwinnett: 344 average, 5 triples, 58 runs. That was in 96 games. He played his college ball at Virginia. Virginia has really enjoyed a nice run in the ACC and in the college baseball world. And he finds another hit, this one inside the line. Stanton gets there quickly. And Goslin is 2 for 3.
Now you saw Nathan Eovaldi with that pick of the line drive, and first thing that comes to mind is that line drive in Pittsburgh off the side of Dan Jennings' head. Well, he has recovered nicely. 4 rehab games. Look at that, 7 scoreless innings, just 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. You were talking about Brian Morris with that strained groin. He has just been tremendous as a Marlin, and they need him in that bullpen. Hopefully, he'll be ready to go next week.
Now, Jennings is on the disabled list. The fact that the calendar turns to September, the Marlins don't have to make a corresponding move when they activate Jennings, because rosters expand on September 1st.
So there's a chance for the ball game tomorrow that we could see Dan Jennings. There's a chance we could see Carter Capps as well.
And hopefully Brian Morris.
Possibly Brian Morris.
Freeman's up. He's singled and flied out. Good sharp breaking ball.
See if he goes up with a fastball to try to put him away. He looked bad on that breaking ball, but his base hit last time up was on a curveball. They tried to go up, but missed badly. A little overthrow there.
Yeah, Braves last year 96 and 66. Won the East. Braves lost in the postseason. You know their last postseason series win 2001.
That's pretty incredible. Yeah, the last 2 years they've won 90 or more games. Of course, that tremendous run they put together. Just won World Series championship.
1995. 2-2. Mathis blocks it. Very, very nice crowd in what is still a large building. Capacity up around 43,000. And of course, all of this will be empty in about 3 years. Runner goes, throw down to second is ball 4. Freeman trots down to first. And Eovaldi walks his first hitter. Goslin now at second, and here is Justin Upton.
That's why it's tough. It negates a perfect throw by Jeff Mathis. But on the breaking ball, Freeman took ball 4.
Well, Upton is struck out and single. And Eovaldi has Gaddis on deck. And it's Gaddis' home run that is standing up in a 1-0 game.
And certainly with every pitch for Eovaldi, once again, he's a victim of no support. So with every pitch, you hate to get it in your mind, but you feel like you have to be perfect.
Just out, it's 1-1. Among the Marlin starters, Tom Kohler has the best support. You see Eovaldi at 316. That's the 5th lowest among National League starters. This is where Eovaldi could use a little bit of what Jared Cozart had last night. Cozart 3 times when he needed a double play ball got him.
One of the differences, Cozart doesn't throw as hard, as fast. He can get up 95. We saw that a few times, but he has a lot of movement with his fastball. So he got those ground balls.
Upton not going away easily. 1-2.
And you have a tough guy to double up as well.
I think the brush has a better chance of winning the tool race. High pop. Echeverria is out and has it. Infield fly was called. That's significant, Hut. Echeverria 20 feet out, and obviously here in Atlanta they're sensitive to that. In the postseason. The infield fly was called with Echeverria about 20 feet out.
Justin Upton not pleased. He felt, and he did. He felt he got a pretty good pitch to hit and popped it up. So Nathan Eovaldi can breathe a little easier, but now he has to deal with Gaddis.
We apologize not for the infield fly rule being invoked, but for the sound around the plate.
I believe that's the infield profanity rule.
Yes.
That was invoked.
Unfortunately. Into the bat. That's got some tricky English on it. It trickles out to Baker, who just gets it to Eovaldi. That ball was rolling away from the line. Freddie Gonzalez is out. Not to argue, but to start the replay sequence, you see Carlos Tosca on the horn.
Boy, this is not an easy play, because if you're Eovaldi, you have to say, can I get this? And then all of a sudden, if you realize you can't get it, you have to allow the first baseman to get it and then flip it to you.
Saw that pleasant exchange between Chris Guccione and Freddie Gonzalez. Look at the spin on that.
There's a moment of indecision there, but nicely done by Jeff Baker, Nathan Eovaldi.
Tool race. Fill the bucket. We got big money on the bucket today. Hammer and Hank. Oh, the drill goes down. Look at the bucket. He's on the rail.
Meal money's on this one, Rich.
That's right. Oh, look at the bucket go. Oh, here comes the dance, huh?
Tonight for Fill the Bucket in the running of the Home Depot Tool Race. Congratulations. And a victory dance with Home of the Braves. Nice job. All right, Braves country.
Now, wait a minute. How's that go? Oh, the bucket.
I think the bucket may have gotten some of those moves from Deion Sanders.
It was before the game. We were down on the field doing our homework, and the bucket approached us. He knows that we had heavy money on him, and he came out to just reassure us that our money was safe. And you know what, Tommy? A good day at the track for us.
Yep, he came through.
Well, the Marlins actually got contact off of Alex Wood on that bouncer by Jeff Mathis, and that's saying something. Wood has been almost untouchable tonight. He had struck out 3 in a row. He struck out the side in the 5th. Eovaldi now with Yelich to follow.
He's had just one 3-ball count.
Well, with the loss of 2 starters to Tommy John surgery, and Wood didn't get off to a great start, his resurgence has been a nice shot in the arm for the Braves. He did lose his last start against the Mets.
Yeah, but he pitched well.
6 strikeouts just to walk, 3 runs. Was out in front of Eovaldi, 0-2.
You know, we talked about that game against the Mets. He gave up that home run, a 2-run shot by Juan Lagares. He's given up 14 home runs, so he has been hit at times.
And a breaking ball misses down low. Marlins haven't sniffed a run in this one. Jeff Baker had an infield hit back in the second. Donovan Solano a leadoff single. A race by a double play in the fourth. Five o'clock start here in Atlanta. And a big holiday crowd on hand. Eovaldi finds center field. Well, after laboring to get through and with 2 runners on and the teeth of the order for the Braves, Nathan Eovaldi comes up, bangs a single into center.
Good job. He's trying to help himself. He battled Alex Wood there. Fouled off a few pitches. Got a high fastball. Nice top spin. Just out of the reach of La Stella.
Now Yelich. We talked about Wood and how good he is against lefties. Yelich lined to left and struck out in the third. Wood starts him with a breaking ball.
His breaking ball to left-handers is of the more of the sweeping variety.
Ball and a strike. Yelich just got a piece. This is a really nice pitching matchup here. We talked about tomorrow with Henderson Alvarez and Zach Wheeler, a 1 o'clock start in Miami. The Braves tomorrow trot Julio Teheran out, and Cole Hamels will be here to greet him.
That'll be a pretty good one too.
It's a 1 o'clock start here in Atlanta. Yelich shoots one into left field, a base hit.
That's why he hits left-handers so well. He stays back, thinks left field, thinks second base or over, and drives a lot of balls just like that. This with 2 strikes on him.
So Miami has reached second base. And Solano with Stanton behind him, 1 out in a 1-0 game in the 6th.
Yeah, you talk about that matchup tomorrow. Zach Wheeler's had a couple of starts. He's thrown 15 innings at Marlins Park. Has given up 5 hits and no runs. Henderson Alvarez has an ERA at home of 1.46.
Alex Wood coming right after Solano. He's out in front 0-2. You've got Eovaldi at second. Yelich, the trail runner, with very good speed at first. Solano into left field. Late start by Eovaldi. Up with it is Justin Upton. And his throw comes all the way home. Bags are loaded. This is, if you're a Marlin fan, and if you're Mike Redmond, this is what you want. You've got Giancarlo Stanton with the bags loaded and 1 out.
You know, even though he got a late start, number one, it's the pitcher out there, but I really like the way Eovaldi rounds the bag. He's trying to score. He rounds the bag hard until he picks up Brett Butler with the stop sign. And another nice swing. 2 hits today for Donovan Solano.
3 consecutive hits for Miami. Bags loaded, 5 career slams. Remember his last at bat, though. Wood got Stanton to roll over on a pitch and bounce into a 6-4-3 double play. And Stanton just missed that one. On it. Fouled it straight back.
Hitless today, but Giancarlo came into the game .361 against left-handed pitching. There it is. Talked about Chris Johnson the other day.
Fouled that one straight back. Checkers bring you Fox Tracks. Both pitches in.
Yeah, he's worked him inside both times with fastballs.
Let's see if he gets the changeup away.
Or that back foot breaking ball. Got a lot of options.
Got him. Back foot breaking ball.
That's the one thing with Alex Wood. He's got a pretty good repertoire. So he could have gone fading changeup away. He could have gone fastball up and in. He elected to go with that third one, that back foot breaking ball, and it was a beauty.
That would be the biggest of the strikeouts for Alex Wood so far. He's got 9 of them. Casey McGee is flied out, bounced out. And he fouls it straight back. Wood, who had an economy of pitches through 5, has been stretched out. This will be his 80th pitch. In the dirt, and Gaddis saves his pitcher a run. By inning, you can see just 14 pitches to strike out the side in the 5th. So he's just 2 strikeouts away from equaling that magical night back in April when he matched up with Jose Fernandez. And Wood struck out 11, Fernandez struck out 14. McGee takes down 2-1. And he may have gotten a break. It's out, and McGee now with a count at 3-1.
A lot of indecision because all of a sudden Alex Wood taking a lot of time getting his signs from Evan Gaddis. A lot of indecision before that last pitch, and he missed with a fastball.
Wood walked 1 his last start. He's not walked anyone tonight. 3-1 coming. Got the strike.
That's a great pitch. And if you're Casey McGee, the best thing he did was take it. A 3-1 changeup. And look at where it was. Perfect spot.
So now if he threw it 3-1.
Well, yeah, in your mind you say if he threw it 3-1, he can throw it 3-2, but he also has those other 2 pitches.
Bags full, 2 out. Runners on the move. Got him with a breaking ball. McGee knew it. And it got plenty of the plate. Alex Wood got himself into trouble, and he gets himself out. 1-0 Atlanta. Braves, and Alex Wood has been dominant today.
Well, we've seen him use everything. He's brought the whole arsenal, and it's been a good one. Fastballs, the curveball or slider, it's kind of an in-between breaking ball, and some real good changeups to the right-handed hitters. But the last 2 strikeouts, his best, that back foot breaking ball to get Giancarlo, and a little less of a breaking ball, but a good pitch in the inside corner to get Casey McGee.
So still 1-0. Still Nathan Eovaldi, and a strike to Tommy La Stella. Eovaldi has had some stressful innings. He had a pair of runners aboard with 1 out in the 5th. Pitched through it. A pair of runners on in the 3rd. Pitched through that. Echeverria on to 1st. 1 out here in the bottom of the 6th.
Well, he was also on the bases last inning for a good amount of time, so good to see him get that first out of the way.
Wood's line, 6 innings, 5 hits, 10 strikeouts, no walks. Here comes Simmons. Eovaldi's line, 5 1/3, 7 hits, a run, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. Simmons singled back in the 2nd. Crowd sure enjoyed that big moment here in Atlanta. This whole place does rock a little bit when they get rolling. I call it old. It opened in '97.
This is the best crowd of the 3 games, too.
Their new ballpark will open in 2017 in Cobb County. They're also building a new football stadium, which will replace the Georgia Dome. Falcons will play there, and you've got to know.
So they'll still have the Georgia Dome, though.
No,
they're going to knock that down.
They're blowing that thing up.
Okay,
it's out of here. I would expect they're going to blow this place up too, right? I mean, what are you going to do with a 43,000 seat ballpark that nobody uses? Echeverria's out. Yelich is in.
Be a little big for Georgia Tech games, high school game.
Georgia Tech has a nice field of their own, my friend.
I know that.
But yeah, so 2 new stadiums coming in Atlanta. I would expect too the new football venue will also be a magnet for the college football playoff, bowl games, Final Fours, Dragon Con, SEC championship game.
Let's make sure that the schedule next year has us missing Dragon Con.
What do you have against Dragon Con, Tommy?
It's just confusing, and I'm not sure, who to speak to, who not to speak to in the lobby.
Don't speak to the guys with swords. And if anybody is wearing a mask, do not address them as sir or ma'am. Eovaldi misses outside. Dragon Con is a wild convention filled with science fiction fans who like to dress up and have a good time. And who doesn't like to do that?
Nice inning for Nathan Eovaldi.
Solano gets the out. And Eovaldi makes quick work of the Braves. Pitching and more pitching. That's the theme in this one. Marlins and Braves. With Tommy Hunt, Raul Stryker Jr., Preston Wilson. Sunset now a ways away. Right now comfortable in the 80s here in Atlanta. And it's 1-0. Braves on top. 7th inning arrives. Jeff Baker, Marcell Ozuna, and Adeiny Echeverria get a crack at Alex Wood. And he has been tough to solve. 10 strikeouts, no walks, just 5 hits. Nathan Eovaldi saved that. Evan Gattis home run has matched him. Gattis' home run coming in the 2nd inning. Baker shoots one out to short. And Simmons gets the out. Hey, Tommy, I know you like Dragon Con so much. We stole an itinerary just for you. Now, this is all true. All right. East Coast Saturday, Hannibal Fanibal's cooking lessons, robot battles, antweight and beetleweight divisions, zombie makeup. If you need help with your zombie makeup,
I was getting into the leather garments for lessons for tooling in leather. I was trying to get involved in that one.
The zombie promise tonight. The king and queen will be named tonight. Backhanded, La Stella bobbles a bit and gets the out. And Alex Wood has 2 outs in the blink of an eye.
Well, Alex Wood doing what he wants to do here in this inning.
Look at Tommy. Read the top. No functioning projectile weapons allowed. Yesterday, the warning was...
Oh, that's why they frisked me when I walked in.
Yesterday, the warning was keep your swords and bladed objects sheathed. Echeverria takes outside. So 2 pitches, 2 ground ball outs. Baker to short. And Ozuna up the middle. Echeverria an 0 for 2, 2 strikeouts. And no swing.
Boy, all the hits, 2, 5, and 3 came last inning, all singles. Boy, he's got such good arm action with that changeup.
Not much more room for any more Ks. He struck out 10.
If he gets any more, they'll have to use the cow up in left field.
Well, even the cow is in a strikeout mood right now. Burgers are a swing and a whiff, the sign says. Mad cow tonight. Don't look into his eyes in the dirt. Hey, by the way, you'll want to stick around for the 7th inning stretch. We'll stay here in Atlanta. Timothy Miller will sing God Bless America.
He's fantastic.
If you've never heard him sing here in Atlanta, God Bless America, you're going to want to stick around and hear it. Here's a 3-2. Echeverria lifts a fly ball. Foul territory. Hayward makes the catch. And a 1-2-3 7th. Wood, after giving up the 3 hits in a row, has retired 5 in a row. And Alex Wood, dominant in this one. Nathan Eovaldi, very, very good. He's given up an Evan Gattis homer, and that is the difference in the ball game. 1-0 Atlanta in the bottom of the 7th. Now everybody here in Atlanta rising to their feet. We will likewise. Timothy Miller, God Bless America.
Let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans, white with foam, God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Boy, terrific stuff. 1-0 Atlanta. You got a fan photo, you want it on the show, hashtag NFL fan photo, and you might end up with the AT fan photo like Erica. Well, that was too short. We got to give Erica her due, don't we? Very nice. Back to the regularly scheduled ball game, and Nathan Eovaldi facing his antagonist, I guess, Alex Wood. And Wood takes a strike. Wood has punched out a couple times. Eovaldi, 6 innings, a run on 7 hits, 5 strikeouts, a walk. Wood, 10 strikeouts, no walks, no runs, 5 hits.
And for Nathan, more than likely his last inning, he's due up first, and he's gone over 100 pitches, but he's been just tremendous. Got a fastball middle in to Evan Gattis back in the 2nd inning, and he took it deep for the only run of the game.
That would be the bullpen phone you just heard there. And Eovaldi strikes out Wood again. Hayward coming up, and then Goslin. Wednesday, Marlins and Mets, 7:10 start. Kids eat free on Wednesday night. Every child 12 and under with a ticket will receive a coupon for a free KM Beef Frank. Bag of Frito-Lay chips and a small Pepsi or Aquafina water. Get your tickets today at Marlins.com. Jason Hayward. An 0 for 3. Didn't miss by much. That's 1-1. Actually got a little bit of the plate. Al Gibson's been pretty good tonight. Center field, Ozuna with room. Sets up, makes the catch. And up comes Goslin. 2 of the Braves' 7 hits have come from Goslin. I guess the Braves have a couple of guys to choose from for second base. Goslin or La Stella.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Just in our conversations with different people around the Braves, it sounds like Goslin is a good utility guy. He can play a couple of other infield positions and a little better defender, but he's actually swung the bat well and possibly a little better defender than La Stella.
Braves have done a nice job in their history of having guys like that around, like Martin Prado or Omar Infante. Goslin has 3 hits. And here is Freeman. It was 1 for 2 with a walk. Boy, the Giants have scored 2 touchdowns and are beating Milwaukee 14-3 in the bottom of the 8th in San Francisco.
Wow. Sandoval with a home run.
Kyle Loesch absorbed 7 of those runs.
Hunter Pence 4 for 5, a couple of RBIs.
San Francisco keeping the pressure on the Dodgers. The Dodgers are making sure that the Padres aren't close so they can't walk off again tonight. 7-1 Dodgers in San Diego in the 9th. 2.5 game lead for the Dodgers in the West when play started over the Giants. 1-0 pitch. Liner to center. Ozuna picks it up. And Freddie Freeman is turned back into Freddie Freeman against the Marlins. He's 2 for 3.
As you watch that line drive go out towards center, it had that knuckling effect. It was moving all over the place. And you're right, a couple of hits today for Freddie Freeman, 2 for 3.
Mike Redmond on his way out to the mound with 2 outs. Justin Upton is up. The cow is in full chop mode. Miami's bullpen is ready, and Redmond asked for the ball. 2 outs in the 7th in a 1-0 game. West Kendall Toyota called to the bullpen. Atlanta, and with 2 outs, Phil Gosselin, Freddie Freeman with base hits. Chris Hatcher comes in and then knocks Nathan Eovaldi out of the ball game.
Yeah, I think you make this decision, and Mike Redmond makes it because you certainly don't want the Braves to add on, and it's a fresh arm. Justin Upton has seen Eovaldi 3 times, so he wants to give him a different look. And now it's up to Chris Hatcher to make that move pay off.
Eovaldi 6 2/3, 9 hits. So far 1 run. He's responsible for the 2 runners out there. And Hatcher goes to work with a breaking ball for a strike. That tells you right there how far Chris Hatcher has come. In a tight spot here in the 7th, he opens Justin Upton's at bat with a sharp breaking ball.
Yeah, I think last year we'd have probably seen first pitch fastball, and there's a nice slider right on the outside corner.
Hatcher's really had some moments this year. He became the first Marlins pitcher to record 12 strikeouts over a 13-out span. He did that in mid-June.
Justin Upton having issues with his gum. Whoop. So it's always a little tougher to hit with that gum on your nose.
Hatcher with the count 2-1. Fastball, Upton, and Yelich is over and makes the catch. Chris Hatcher shuts the door in the 7th. Miami down 1-0 in Atlanta.
Nathan Eovaldi tells all. Gas just put his head down, fastball. And that's been the only scoring of this ballgame for Gaddis' 21st home run of the year. Both pitchers, other than that pitch for Eovaldi, he's been on target, and he was all day. Made some great pitches. The slider was there for him, the curveball. But you know what? Alex Wood just a little bit better. Alex Wood to this point has 10 strikeouts through 7 innings. He's used fastball, slider, he's used changeup, and he hasn't walked a batter. He worked out of a big jam in the 6th inning, but then had an easy 1-2-3 7th.
8-9-1 for Miami. Chris Johnson is into the ball game.
And looks like Philip Gosselin has moved to second base.
Jeff Mathis takes outside. There's Gosselin. Mathis drives it center field. B.J. Upton. That'll bring up Reed Johnson, former Brave. So that stretches to 6 in a row set down by Wood. And that comes after he gave up 3 consecutive hits. The Marlins got 3 singles in a row in the 6th. And then Wood struck out Giancarlo Stanton swinging and struck out Casey McGee looking.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was at the bottom part of the order either, getting both Stanton and McGee.
96 pitches for Wood. Ramos is ready. Johnson turning and having a discussion with Hal Gibson. David Carpenter in the bullpen. And there you have Fox Tracks. Reed Johnson was right. And he just now steps back in. And down he goes. And so Wood has the first 2 outs of the 8th. And that's Alex Wood's mother.
Well, she's happy about the 11 strikeouts. he's had in his young career, and Alex Wood just 23. He's had just one complete game. That was this year.
Yelich's base hit in the 6th. He lined out in the 1st.
Be interesting to see if he gets through this inning. Wood, what Freddie Gonzalez does, knowing that he has Craig Kimbrell in that bullpen.
Well, he's hit 100 pitches, but he looks as sharp now as he did back in the 1st. His mom, Carol, pretty happy. A dozen strikeouts for the Georgia Bulldogs. Wood shutting out Miami through 8. MLB.TV Premium, #1 live streaming sports service, celebrates 12 years. You can join the millions of subscribers. Every out-of-market game streamed live, online, or on the go in true HD. MLB.TV Premium includes a free At-Bat 14 subscription. It allows you to watch live baseball on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Craig Kimbrell up.
Well, Alex Wood with that final strikeout has set a career high with 12 strikeouts. The Marlins have a little streak on the line. Not little. The Marlins have played 60 straight games without being shut out. That leads the major leagues. June 21st against the Mets. Last time the Marlins were shut out.
Gaddis swings and misses. And of course, last night the Marlins shut out the Braves. 14th shutout for the Fish. That's tied for 2nd in the National League with the Dodgers and the Nationals. St. Louis has 18. El Oso Blanco, the White Bear, the nickname of Gaddis back in winter ball. Those are similar, maybe from the same manufacturer as the Panda hats in San Francisco. Not quite the same charm, though.
Well, a little more comfortable at AT&T on a brisk 65-degree day as opposed to here.
without a doubt. Ramos. Breaking ball. Gaddis chased down by Mathis. First out, bottom 8.
I'm not sure, well, fairly sure with Kimbrel up in the bullpen what Freddie Gonzalez is going to do. I'm just thinking there are 2 guys to our left who you'd have to tackle and do everything possible to get them out of the game, such as the game Alex Wood is pitching. And I'm talking about Hall of Famer Don Sutton and John Smoltz in the TV booth.
Don Sutton on Braves radio. John Smoltz has been on Braves television this week.
I mean, those guys knew what complete games were about. Of course, Smoltz knew what closing games was all about, too.
He was on both ends of it.
Yeah.
Good to see that Triscuit is the official snack of Braves television. They're much healthier over there than we are.
Yeah, they are.
Ramos has the breaking ball working. And Chris Johnson in his first at bat. It's behind the count 1-2.
Now keep in mind, Solano, Stanton, McGee are the first 3 hitters in the 9th inning.
AJ Ramos. And has struck out the 2 that he's faced here. Checkers presents Marlins Live after the game. Raul Stryker Jr., Preston Wilson. El Oso Grande in this one with a long home run at the only run of the game. And Alex Wood with his 8 shutout innings so far. 12 strikeouts. 45,754. So this is a very full house in Atlanta. Simmons couldn't check, and it's 1-1.
Remember last night for AJ, came in the game, gave up an infield base hit, but struck out the 2 outs he was able to record.
Simmons was on the breaking ball, punches it right center field. Ozuna to pick it up. Simmons stops and holds with a single. And B.J. Upton will come to the plate. A couple games just went final out on the West Coast that impact races. The Dodgers beat the Padres 7-1, coupled with the Giants win of 15-5 over Milwaukee. It keeps things in the West in the National League to 2.5 games. And the Angels sweep Oakland 8-1.
Matt Shoemaker, who the Marlins saw, had 7 shutout innings. Won his 14th game. Remember, he was about to tie, so he's tied Frank Tanana and a couple others for the most wins by a rookie pitcher in an Angels uniform.
Oakland 5 back. They've lost 4 in a row. B.J. Upton had a single back in the 4th. Braves have 10 hits. Miami just 5. Upton into right center field. That's a base hit. Simmons will stop at second base. And the Braves will lift Wood for a pinch hitter here. Bonifacio was on deck, but he's being replaced right now. Looks like Ryan Doman. And so that's the end of the line for Alex Wood.
You got the feeling that it might have been anyway, but Freddie Gonzalez kind of forced now to try to add on with the pitcher spot up here.
Oh, 1 to Doman. Doman kind of filling the role that Eric Hinsky had for many years here. Although Doman is a switch hitter, he has just 22 at bats from the right side. He's not been real good from the left side, hitting just 189. And he's 9 for 55 as a pinch hitter, which goes to 180. Ramos with the count 0-2. So it looks like Craig Kimbrell against 2, 3, 4 in Miami's order in the ninth. Mathis working hard.
You know, a guy who's actually had a little success against Kimbrell will start things, and that's Donovan Solano.
Chris Guccione trying to get a good spot with the sunshine right in his face. And Ramos finishes the 8th. He strikes out Doman. Craig Kimbrell coming in. 1-0 Atlanta. And one of the dominant closers of this era is in right now. And as a result, The Braves are 65-1 when taking a lead into the 9th inning.
Well, Craig Kimbrell saved his 40th game the other night, Friday night, becoming the first pitcher in Major League history to start his career with 4 consecutive 40-save seasons.
As good as Alex Wood was, and he struck out a dozen, he didn't walk anybody, and he retired the last 80 faced. Would you rather face Wood here or Kimbrell?
I think the Marlins would rather face Kimbrell.
I would agree with you, and I know the Braves were in a position where they had to pinch hit for Wood. They had to play for the extra run. I get that. I'm not questioning any strategy. It's just the Marlins are facing Kimbrell, and as daunting as he is and all the Major League history that he set, he might not be better than Wood on this day.
Well, that's exactly right. And how many times we talk about sometimes just seeing somebody different. Solano in his career 2 for 5 against Kimbrell.
Of course, he might not be as good as Wood, but he still might be dominant. And go 1, 2, 3 here in the 9th. Toyota trend. Donovan Solano against the Braves. 41 of the 280 in his career against Atlanta. 8 home runs, including a home run in this series. Boy, Kimbrell looks sharp. Dots the outside corner. It's 0-2.
Boy, and dots it with 2 98-mile-an-hour fastballs.
I think the answer to the question is probably you'd rather not face either of the two. Wood or Kimbrell. Stanton and McGee after Solano. Did not offer. Chris Guccione, the sun ray that was right in Guccione's face as that last inning ended has passed. He was actually holding his cap out in front of his face to shield the sun to get a look at home plate. Solano, a ground ball, diving stop. Johnson on his feet. He is out.
That might be a challenge right there from Mike Redmond.
Here comes Redmond. Marlins will look at it. Solano made the signal that he was safe, but we know that a player's reaction has not at all been indicative of the call.
What an effort. What a play by Chris Johnson. Boy, a great stretch from Freddie Freeman, but was it enough?
Back of the glove.
Boy, he looks safe. It's very close. It really appears he hits the bag as the ball enters and maybe gets to the back of the glove.
Well, you got to use your challenge, don't you? I mean, it doesn't matter. You just got to use it.
And I believe the Marlins are going to.
I mean, it's top of the 9th, and you're trying to scratch out a run. It's that close. Now, remember the rule. The ball has to be back of the glove to beat the runner, and the runner's foot on the bag. That second look is probably the best. And we'll try to give it to you again. Here's a look. It's got to be back of the glove. Watch the foot. Foot is down. Oh, wow.
Man, that's close. That's as close as we've seen one all year.
And you know what? I don't know if there's enough to overturn that. Look at Chris Guccione, who made the call. And
as they're listening to New York, they're watching the play on the giant screen here at Turner Field.
Chris Guccione, the umpire on the left side who made that call, just watched up on the big screen the replay. And he's saying to himself, I had to make that call full speed, full time.
Crowd, of course, the crowd seeing it in Atlanta Braves eyes.
And let's see what New York. I think New York is going to have a hard time overturning it. And he's out.
God, that was as close as I think we've seen one, Rich, all year.
Call stands, Tommy, which means New York wasn't confident enough to overturn it, but did not confirm it.
And I think we saw that. We could see why they made that decision.
Heck of a play by Johnson at third. Now Stanton. Fastball up and in.
Boy, the area when we saw Giancarlo strike out with bases loaded and 1 out in the 6th inning. For Stanton, his 17th strikeout on this road trip.
Stan had a mean rip and that fastball.
Muscle against heat right there.
Breaking ball. 1-2. This has been a night for pitchers. Alex Wood, 12 strikeouts in 8 innings. Craig Kimbrell in relief. Nathan Eovaldi looks super. 6 2/3, gave up just a run. Fastball popped up. Freeman with room and the ball. And so here is McGee. Huge crowd. Close to 46,000. McGee, a ground ball, will find right field for a hit. And Miami has a 2-out single. Jeff Baker was on deck. Garrett Jones will pop out of the dugout.
Casey McGee had been 0 for 5 in his career against Kimbrell. So was able to keep the inning alive and get Garrett Jones to the plate.
Jones a 1 for 8 right now in this series. And on this road trip, just 3 for 20. No swing. Tom Hallion, crew chief, down at third. With Jones behind in the count, 1-2. $100, and it was in. If Jones should reach, Ozuna is next. Off his foot. It stays at 2-2.
Well, Went with 100 and then came back with the slider.
It's the only game going in baseball right now. Everything else a final, and Cleveland and Kansas City are about 20 minutes away from starting. 2-2. Kimbrel shuts the door. Who would have thought that second inning home run would be the only run of the ball game? It holds up. Alex Wood, 8 scoreless, strikes out 12. Craig Kimbrel shuts the door, and the Braves win it.